Hello everybody, this is Josh Spicer from GameWisdom.com. For this special video, I'm actually not going to be playing Renowned Explorers. Instead, I want to talk about the party system, or selecting a great party, because obviously this is a major part of the game that the in-game hints and manual don't really touch on. Yet it's so critical to understand how to do this that it's really going to make the difference between a successful run and a failure. So, originally I was going to do this just as a straight recording, not stream at all, but I figured this will be a great opportunity to either do live questions from people in chat, or if you're watching this recorded, to post any questions about like certain combinations or things to look for. Before we begin, one thing, I'm not going to be talking about the all class challenges, because those are very specific. So I've already done 3 of the 4. Instead, we're going to look at each of the characters, how they best are utilized, their captain skills, stuff like that. And then we'll talk a little bit about putting together a good party composition, or what you should be looking for. I figure this will take maybe 30 minutes to an hour, hopefully. One second, I'm just going to grab a quick drink. Alright. So first thing, obviously, we have the 4 classes: Scientist, Scout, Fighter, and Speaker. Each class will get a bonus for certain resources whenever they complete a challenge. So Scientists get Research, Scout Gold, Fighters also get extra gold, and then Speakers get status. Now if we start all the way at the top, we'll go with our first Scientist, Amelia. Amelia, as you can see, her bonus is start every expedition with a tool, and she gets +1 study whenever you enter a nature challenge. So the tool is pretty useful, and pretty much starts you off right from the get-go with getting that +25% chance on any challenges. If you look at her skills here, she's got some decent defenses, especially as a scientist. Very strong against speech, decent against physical attacks. From her build here, it looks like she's going to start to be focused on speaking rather than attack. Basic melee attack. She can enrage someone, and she can boost someone else's speech. So, not a bad character. She can boost the entire group. She's also one of the few characters with a group heal, thanks to her tranquility. So that can help out, and she's a great support character as long as you have someone else who can do the damage. Let's see. Next, Anna here is currently considered the de facto best captain in the game, thanks to her Brilliant Scientist perk. What it does is every time you go up one of the research papers, it will modify and enhance the study token. So the token can either earn more research or start earning other resources as well. And that also follows through to doing any insight jobs. So it's really a case of the rich getting richer. And if you focus on research, you're naturally going to get better. So this just makes things a lot better. And I will say that my best win, the one that got me the Shangri-La, was with Anna. And she's also not bad from a fighting standpoint. You can see she has decent stats for defense. She's hand in hand with attack and speech, so you can really go down either way. She does get some AoE base abilities, including the Strike of Fear, which lets her stun enemies. That can be really helpful in some of the later challenges. Next, Philippe. Philippe is an interesting character. As you can see, his captain perk is that for every resolve point you have at the end of a challenge, you'll get a free study token. This is probably one of the least effective captain's perks, I think, because resolve is pretty much going to count as your extra lives, and that's about it. There's no other real greater synergy there compared to other captain perks. We look at his abilities. Definitely more of an attack scientist, but he has no armor. So you need to be really careful with going up against aggressive enemies, or you want to give him armor instead of the rusty ring and those types of defense items. He can make enemies saddened. He can make someone confident, which is good. He also has a similar amnesia shot and tranquility, similar to some of these other characters. He's pretty much your most aggressive scientist, as you can see. He even gets an extra attack at level 5. Agatha is like your first real speech-based scientist. As you can see, she also has a very unusual captain perk. She gains automatically 1 insight after every expedition, and she gets additional study when doing jobs that will earn study. What that means is, if you specialize in getting insight, you'll be able to really just pump out these study tokens thanks to her, and that can make it very easy to get up the research line. Probably not as easy as with Ana, though. Look at her stats. She has some decent defenses, and she's definitely more on the speech-based side of things. She can weaken an enemy's attack, and she's one of the few scientists. Actually, let me just double check that quickly. She is actually the only scientist who has the ability to impress an enemy, which means it will lower their speech defense. So if you are going the speech route, she's pretty decent to have. You can see she can also gain extra speech attack for Terrify, and she also has some AoE based attacks here. Agatha was interesting. I was thinking about actually using her as a captain and seeing how that goes. Okay. Now Earl. Earl, similar to Ana, gets a bonus for the research paper. As you can see, for every research he gets +4 collect, which means he can basically combine studying to get gold, which isn't really that bad. I think they've enhanced that, or they changed that since the last time I actually looked at this. Earl is basically another glass cannon type scientist. He has the only range attack of the scientist group. He can weaken an enemy to make them more susceptible to physical attacks, and he can also weaken them for speech. So he's your glass cannon scientist, and you can tell again because he has no armor. When we look at his abilities, he gets another AoE attack and a similar stun to Ana. But he's pretty good for just pure offense if you want him as your scientist. Okay, well, moving down to the scout line next. Kiwi's definitely probably one of the riskier captains in the game. You can see she starts off with -2 supply, which means that at the first expedition she'll only have 6 supply, and even with the upgrade, she'll only have 8. But she'll automatically earn you 1 supply whenever you enter a nature challenge. And nature challenges are basically around survivalist, I think quick thinker, and maybe athlete. Now, all the scouts by their design have lower defense stats in favor of the higher grit, which gives them a chance of just completely evading enemy attacks. And that also goes into their unique item they can equip, which would be a boot, instead of normally the ring or the glove. Look at her attacks. She has a decent attack here with the Loudmouth, and it lets her increase her grit to obscene levels. And she also gets a flanking ability similar to another scout, which we'll look at in a minute. The flank basically lets her do more damage if the enemy is if she's standing next to an enemy, an ally, as you can see, it's the word may be a little confusing. An enemy and an ally have to be next to each other. Kiwi has to get next to the enemy, but she can't be touching the ally or be 1 tile away. And by doing that, she'll get extra damage. Pedro, I cannot pronounce his name to save my life. He is pretty much one of the tankier scouts. I did a play, I think my old scout party, I had him as my captain. You can see he gets +1 collect for resolving encounter friendly. It may not sound all that big at the start, but if you get specialists that can give you bonuses for also resolving an encounter friendly, it can give you some lucrative resources. He also gets a bonus right here. You can get an additional collect for solving a battle friendly. So if he's the captain and you get that, you'll get 2 collect tokens for each friendly encounter. Now, the other thing about Pedro is that he's very speech-based around the excited stat, or the excited emotion. This is his strongest attack here, and he gets Party Time, which is an AoE attack that lets him teleport in to attack. What I did was synergize with, I think, the Book of Joy, which lets other characters get enhanced damage for attacking someone who is positive. And you can use this to pretty much be like a bomb on the enemy group. Hadis is one of my favorite scouts. She is pure glass cannon. As you can see, her captain perk, you get +2 collect for doing a witch challenge, which is based around, I think, athlete and quick thinker. What makes her really good, as you can see, she has very high attack and speech starting out. She can make other characters confident, but her real aim is her attack range. It's a 3-tile attack, which is the highest along with Harry, who's the next scout. She also gets the piercing shot and focus, which lets her basically charge up for one very strong attack, and can be used almost to wipe things out very quickly. 1 second, folks. I just realized that I am not logged in. 1 second. Hold on, just 1 second here. I just want to make sure that I'm logged into the Twitch, because that would help with getting answering questions and whatnot. One second here. Just want to make sure this is working. Don't you hate when you have these technical hiccups right when you're doing something live? Alright. Back to it while that's loading. Hopefully it won't interrupt my speech. So Hadis is your glass cannon, and what's great is that you can pretty much attack with impunity thanks to her 3 range. Of course, this also means she's not really... If she gets attacked, she doesn't have the defenses to really survive it. And it's very easy for someone to surround her and do some nasty damage. Now, moving on to Harry. He is another glass cannon. He gets 100% more gold for the treasure hunt token, which is the more expensive or the harder to find version of the basic one. He is another glass cannon. As you can see, he's even more of a glass cannon than Hadis. Very high range with his attack, but what makes him really great is his ability to weaken the enemy. He can either weaken them to make them more susceptible to physical attacks, or to speech attacks, which makes him a good all-around character to deliver that first hit to set the enemy up for subsequent hits. Again, big weakness, no defense, and very little health. So if he does get attacked, you are in deep trouble. He also gets similar focus and the charge and the long range shot similar to Hadis, but he can modify that to shoot almost like a shotgun or a cone effect. And then lastly, for the scout, Molly Jones, she has another really great perk. As you can see, all rogues and athletes gain an aura that reduces the opponent's armor, which means that they'll be able to take more damage from physical attacks, and she gets plus 10% more gold for collect tokens. You can see she actually has some armor defense, but no speech. She also has similar flanking abilities, I think similar to Kiwi. decent character. And again, her ability to weaken enemies makes her really useful, probably teaming up with a fighter or with someone who does some long-range physical attacks like Harry or Hadis. Next, we of course got the fighter line. These characters are obviously meant for doing combat and getting you encounter tokens, which, for those who watched previous plays, the encounter tokens give you gold and status to begin with, and can be augmented to get more with entourage members. Alright, so Ivan over here starts out very risky. As you can see, he has -1 resolve, which means level 1 of the game you only have 1 resolve, so if you lose anything, you're done. But very aggressively mined. He gets an additional encounter token, and again, encounter tokens give you a decent amount of status and gold, so you really want to get the research options to augment those, and you can earn a lot of resources that way. 1 second, let me just grab a drink. Sorry about that. We look at his stats. Very much an aggressive character. He has huge armor, but no speech, which means you have to be careful with fighting accounts against friendly or devious enemies. He gets the ability to pin an enemy to prevent them from moving and basically draw the aggro. So he's a really good tank character, but again, not much in the speech department, as evident by having only 15 points. But he could be a good captain to get lots of aggressive tokens. Bia here was one of my favorite characters. She was the one that I took on my Shangri-La play. And 1 second here. I just need to check one thing out. There we go. Now, Bia over here, now she gets +1 campaign for resolving an encounter aggressive, unlike Even, who gets the encounter token. So it's not as good, but she makes up for it with having high attack, no speech defense, unfortunately, but she also gets the ability to double attack. This is very powerful, and if you combine that with someone who can either anger an enemy or make her confident, she can mostly finish off enemies, unless they have high armor, very easily. She's also a tactician, so she can gain bonuses for encounters, and again, just a really great character to have along. I am really thirsty tonight too, sorry about that, folks. Dolores, another good character. She is an interesting one with her captain perk. She gets +5 status for collect, which means that for every gold she earns, she also earns status. And that bonus improves every time she succeeds on the adventure wheel, or succeeds on an event. What my strategy was with her, I just overload her with perks so that she would be the go-to character. So every time we would have an event, she would be the one to do it. We succeed, we augment that bonus. She's also pretty good at both speech and combat, and she has some defense to boot, as you can see. She can pin an enemy, and she can draw enemies to her with the primal roar. That makes her a pretty good tank, and I actually liked her as a captain, and I used her, I think, as the captain for my all-fighter run from earlier. Now, moving on, we have Jean-Pierre. I think his perk was augmented since the last time I saw it. As you can see, he gets +5 gold from any campaign token, and he gets +2 campaign whenever he does insight jobs. So that's similar to Agatha's perk. So, not a bad way of getting lots of campaign tokens are a lot of status, which for a fighter, that's actually pretty interesting. It's good that they augmented that. He also comes with decent defenses. Unlike other fighters, he has speech. And he can also deliver some speech, but is mostly aggressive. He can also heal characters, as you can see. And he has the peace treaty similar to our next fighter. Not a bad guy. I think they've actually made him better since I last saw him. They've been doing balancing patches with Renowned Explorers. I believe at the time of this recording, they're actually going to release some free DLC, I think in 2 weeks' time. They're actually going to add a new expedition, I think. And now, finally, Victor. He is my man. Definitely one of the best characters in the game, in my opinion. His plus 50% gold from an encounter token is good, but it's his skills that make him such a standout. First, he can do a peace tree, which will weaken an enemy. He also has inspiring attacks similar to Jean-Pierre. But it's this. This is the moneymaker. Confidence. This basically means that every turn, he's going to make himself and everyone around him confident, which means they will do 25% more attack. Not only that, but this also passively protects you from negative emotions by constantly raising yours up. This was the character that I definitely used for my all-fire run, as well as I think on my Shangri-La play. It's just such a win-win skill if you're going the aggressive route. And it's a much better alternative to the speech-based buff, which we'll be looking at probably in a few minutes. Another great thing about Victor is that he's like halfway good between attack and speech, so he's not one way or the other, so you can build him either way, and he works out well regardless. He also has some decent defenses too. But yeah, if you only want one fighter, I definitely recommend Victor for that buff if you're going aggressively minded. If you're not, then you may want someone else. Last but not least, we have the Speaker class. The Speakers are normally glass cannon types, but they're also the best at delivering speech attacks, so devious or friendly. Alright. Now as you can see, oh yeah, they definitely upgraded Charles since I last saw him. Charles, ironically, we're starting with him. He's the tankiest of the Speakers. They're normally very susceptible to one type of damage or to both, but Charles is very beefy. His upgraded Captain perk, as you can see, every time you get a Specialist Entourage, those are the ones that either bestow a perk or enhance your tokens, he'll upgrade his campaign token, which means similar again to Anna over here. If we look at Charles's stats, he is actually really good. He's average in attack, speech, and defense, which means if you're going for a speaker and you want a little bit of protection, he is a good guy to have. His skills let him pull aggro, as you can see. So if you're going with other classes who are more glass cannon types, like scouts or other speakers, Charles is a good foil to protect everyone. And the fact that he also gets those bonuses or can augment the speaker token, or sorry, the campaign token, is also not bad. Yvonne, as you can see, she gets plus campaign for completing an encounter devious. And that gets augmented every time you beat a stage. So it will go up, essentially, I guess you could say 4 times, since the 5th one ends your play. Yvonne is another beefier character. As you can see, she can draw aggro, and she can also weaken an enemy, either lower their speech or lower their speech defense. Not bad as a speaker. If we look at Charles, they're almost even in terms of attack strength. Charles is a little beefier though. As you can see, she only has 11 armor compared to his, I think it was 20 or 21. Not a bad character if you want some more damage, but you want to have a little less defense as the downside. Next we have Maria. As you can see, she gets plus 50 stats from an encounter token, which is similar to... where were you? I just saw it. Similar to Victor's plus 50 gold from an encounter token. Maria is the epitome of the glass cannon for the speaker. You can see 11 points of armor. I'm sorry, 11 points of speech, 0 armor, but look at that speech stat. That means if you're going against an enemy who has no or very little speech power, she can pretty much finish them off on her own. Now, she does have to rely on her friends, though. She doesn't have the ability to make an enemy confident, such as Yvonne, or I'm sorry, impressed as Yvonne. I think Charles doesn't have... oh yeah, he has that too. So if you can get someone impressed and then follow that up with Maria's attacks, you can do a lot of damage. She does unlock the Seduce ability, as you can see. And she also gets Heartplay, which is a very weird one. Basically, if the attitude's aggressive, she'll speak twice and will stun. If it's devious, it counts as being devious if you're aggressive. So it's definitely a little bit of a weirder one. She also gets option to the Heartbreaker. What this means is if an enemy is impressed and you use Satin, it gets 25% more damage. So it's basically you're setting the enemy up with Impress to then be knocked back down with that. Whew. We're almost done, folks. Next we have Hildegard. She starts off with her campaign token Augment to get research, which means that by getting status, you're also getting research. So that's not really bad. If we look at her stats, again, very glass cannon-y. She does have higher attack compared to other speakers, but you are going to primarily use her for her speech. Her attack is okay, I suppose. She is actually the only speaker with a range aggressive attack, so that's something. She can impress as well. She gets the Cheer to heal, and Dance. Dance lets her teleport with someone else, and they'll both get enhanced stats from the Dance. So this is a way of moving her into combat, letting her get an attack, and then moving away if she gets targeted. She's also the only character in the game who gets a self-heal. As you can see, she'll gain plus 6 spirit back for every excited character. Now, of course, she only has the Cheer ability, but she could be set up great with someone like Pedro here, who can make everyone cheerful thanks to his Excite and Party Time. And lastly, we have Kwame. You can see Kwame's Captain part gains Study for complete encounter friendly, which is not bad. But similar to Victor, it's his skills that are going to make or break him. We come here, very poor armor stat, pretty good with speech. He's definitely another speech-based speaker, obviously, and it's this one that's what you're excited about. Limitless Excitement means he'll make everyone around him excited, which gives plus 25% speech damage, as you can see right there. So he's the speech equivalent of Victor. He can also Cheer, which can be an heal, but he's very hard to play as because all of his stats, all of his skills are melee range, except for Cheer here, and Dance is again the teleport. So you really need to be careful with how you build Kwame, but he's definitely going to be a mainstay of an all-speaker or an all-speech-based party. And so that's all of our characters. I need to take a quick drink for a second, and we're going to talk briefly about party compositions, and then that will sort of take us to the end of this video. Like I said, this is going to be mainly an instructional video. We're not going to be actually playing the game here. Alright, so now you know where all the characters are. It's time to talk about how do you build a party. Up here where you see how well your party reacts to friendly, devious, and aggressive, that's a somewhat good indicator about how your party strategy is going to be. But what's most important is you need to decide who your captain is, because that's going to infer on your party. So let's say, for example, I'm just going to close my eyes and click. Okay, so let's say I pick Ivan as my captain. You can see it means I'm going to be focusing on aggressive play because of this +1 encounter token. With that, there's two things that I look for with picking my party. First, these skills. As you can see, he is aggressively minded, so I would want someone who can either make him confident or make the enemy angry. So if we look here, like Harry would be a good foil for him. He can weaken enemies and then set them up for Ivan to beat the crap out of them. Now Ivan doesn't have any good speech defense, so I should also want someone who could possibly take that damage as well. So with that, we could have, let me put that back on. We could have Charles as a second. He can draw aggro as well, so he could draw speech attacks to him. Or we could have just someone be speech based and try to deliver. Ivan would be the aggressive 1-2 punch, Maria would be the 1-2 punch for speech. Healing would obviously be important as well. So again, you will want someone who can make them positive, or someone, or you could even go with Victor. Again, Victor synergizes well with anyone who's aggressive thanks to that confidence perk. It's so good that I really just use it for everything whenever that did. Now another thing besides the skills and how they synergize are the perks. As you can see, Ivan is an athlete, which means that generally speaking, I don't want to take a second athlete. Oh, I keep switching the wrong, there we go. So with Jean here, he would not be a good foil in terms of perks. He's also going to be really good with synergizing. As you can see, he will impress, but that won't help us since Ivan is aggressively minded. So Jean would not be a good pick here. If we look at some of our other characters, Philippe would be okay. As you can see, he can make someone confident, and he has speech defense. So he could be a good foil to take those speech-related damages and then dish out some damage on his own. And then, as I said, for the third member, you just want to try to fit everyone together. Make sure everyone has different perks. So if I chose Philippe over here, Earl wouldn't really be good because he's already an engineer. He does have Enrage, which helps. But if, let's say, Harry could possibly be a good foil. This would be a very aggressive party. As you can see, with his attacks, he would encourage, boosting their stats. Harry would set enemies up with Enrage, and then Ivan would just beat the crap out of them. Now the game does give you recommendations which are good for a first step. If you're completely new to Randall Explorers, the recommended parties do work, and we can explain why. So he's good with Molly and Earl. So we go over here. Again, they have 3 different sets of perks. Molly can make them confident, and she has these stronger attacks. And Earl can weaken them with Enrage. So, as you can see, the recommendation is pretty much in line with what I was saying. You want to try to get complementary skills and different perks. So in this case, Earl would basically lead in. He has speech defense, so he can take that. He will enrage an enemy to make them weaker, so that Ivan and Molly can go in for the kill. and Molly would be good to get that one hit, as well as draw aggro if need be. We'll do another one just for an example. And like I said, if you're watching this live or recorded and have any questions of characters to go for, then please leave a comment in chat or comment in the comments below. Wow, that just came out horribly wrong. Sorry about that. Alright, so I'm going to close my eyes again and see if we can pick someone else. Oh, I picked Bia, but wrong slot. Let me switch these around. Alright. Well, actually, you know what? I'm going to do it again. I want to get another class here, because fighter won't work that well. Alright, Ana. Ana, as we said, was a really strong character, and I could probably give you what my party combination was for that. I think I said this in a previous play, but the combo that I used was Ana, Victor, and I believe it was Bia. So, reason why, first, they're all aggressively minded. Ana has decent defenses, so does Victor, and Bia is good there. And again, the synergies are working. First, Victor will make them both confident, boosting their natural attacks, as you can see. And Victor also comes with Enrage, so he comes with Enrage and Confident, of course. So the Enrage will lower the enemy's armor by 25, and then he'll give everyone 25% more attack damage simply by standing next to them. So that basically makes his party super aggressive minded. Also, as a bonus, both Victor and Ana have decent speech attacks compared to Bia here. Or actually, Bia is good too. So they all are good in terms of speech and attack. They can boost their attack further, but they can fall back on speech if need be. And Bia is the only one with 0 speech defense, so I would give her a memento item to enhance that. And to make things even better, with Exploit Their Rage, this will let her triple slash right here attack 3 times on enraged enemies. So Victor will make them enrage, Bia comes in and does her triple slash, and it's just all gravy for damage potential. And that's how I won Shangri-La. I just overpowered the group and then finished them off that way. And Victor being able to heal also helped in case anyone got through to do damage. Ana, of course, has AoE skills too, so she can attack multiple enemies, and Strike of Fear is really great for being able to stun enemies and get an extra turn to either focus down a boss or heal or gain necessary stats or emotion upgrades. And I think that will just about do it. I don't think I got any questions from chat. As I said, for you watching this recorded, if you have any questions, please leave a comment below. I'll get back to you, hopefully, with that. And I think I'm going to wrap things up here. I was thinking this was going to last between 30 minutes to an hour. As I said, this is not going to be a actual play of Renowned Explorers. This is simply just a how-to video. I'm going to do one more, I think, how-to video. I've already done one on the metagame. I'll do one more on the exploration and combat. That will not be streamed. That will just be me recorded that, so look for that real soon. And I'm going to wrap it up here. Things are pretty busy around here. I got a few things I gotta get done tonight. So, for those who've been watching this live or recorded, thanks a lot for tuning into this quick video. Everybody, please check out game-wisdom.com for posts and podcasts relating to game design and the industry, as well as our ongoing Patreon campaign to secure some much-needed monthly funding. You can find me on Patreon under Josh Spicer or Game Wisdom, and any donations would be greatly appreciated. And for the YouTube crowd, who I know I've gotten some people who are interested in watching the Renowned Explorers videos, if you like to watch these videos live, comment, ask questions, whatever, you can find me on Twitch under GW Bicer, most nights at 10 Eastern. You can, of course, subscribe to the channel or subscribe to to my Twitter to get updates when I'm streaming. So, with that, I'm going to wrap things up here. I'll be back real soon with more regular plays. I still need to do my actual all science run for this. That will probably be the next video I put up. And with that, I am going to end it. 1 second. Alright, awesome. Okay, thanks again, and I will see you all real soon. Sorry, I just had an important email pop up. Anyway, catch you all later.